Hi everyone, this is another request video. A lot of people have been asking me how can they replace the bones in their corset. Now, some reasons why you might want to replace bones in your corset is if you have plastic bones in your corset and you want to replace it with steel, or if you have flat bones in your corset, spring steel bones, and you don't want it quite so stiff, you can replace that with spiral steel bones. Also, if you have any bones that are permanently warped or even broken in your corset, then you can easily replace those bones with a new bone. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and it really is simpler than you think. Now I'm also making some other modifications to this corset, such as adding grommets and a modesty panel. So here is the before lacing process just for comparison. You can see that even with different and more grippy shoelace style laces, the corset wants to slide open and doesn't stay tightened. This is very frustrating as I can't get the reduction that I want. Here I'm using a seam ripper to separate the binding just at the bottom of the boning channel. I carefully remove the stitching without ripping the binding as I will be reusing it, and I also use the ripper to remove the stitches at the bottom of the corset that's keeping the bones in place. Then I gently use my thumbnail to coax the plastic bone out. When doing this, if you can, try to push the bone out using more pressure on the lining side of the corset as opposed to the outer side with the fashion fabric, because using your nails to squeeze out the bone may cause marks or damage to a delicate fashion fabric. If you can, try and keep your bones in the same order as they were when you actually had them in the corset. That way, if the bones are of appropriate length, then you can just cut your new bones to the same size that these old bones are, so that they'll be perfectly fitting when you put them into the corset. However, if you find your bones that you took out of the corset are too short or too long, then remember just to adjust the length of it before you put in the new bones. So what I'm going to be using to replace these 4 bones here is some 1/2 inch wide spiral steel boning. I'm going to cut it and tip it. If you would like to learn how to do that, then just click the little annotation in the corner. That'll take you to the spiral steel boning video. And for the 2 bones in the back here, I'm going to be using 1/2 inch wide flat steel boning. Since the plastic bones were slightly shorter than I would like my new bones to be, I'm instead measuring the length of the boning channels. The length of this channel is 11 inches, so the bone will be 10.5 inches. I always make my bones 1/2 inch shorter than the finished length of the boning channel. This will give enough room so that you can sew the binding back on without hitting the bone, but it won't be so short that it will be sliding all over the place inside the channel. 1/4 inch of space on the top and bottom of the bone is acceptable. If you want to be sure that your bones don't move, you can make some small stitches at the end of the bone so it doesn't move, or better yet, do some decorative yet functional flossing. The spiral bones I'm using are about 12 millimeters wide, quite a bit wider than the plastic bones, which are around 8 millimeters. This means that the spirals were slightly more difficult to get into the channels, but since they're more snug, they won't twist in the channels like the plastic ones did. This really doesn't change the shape of the corset, but it improves the comfort greatly. Now that you have your steel bone cut and tipped to the right length, then just stick it into the boning channel where your previous plastic bone was, and make sure that it's the right length. So you can see here it stops just about 1/4 inch away from the seam line where the binding's going to go back on, so that's perfect. And then you just move on to the next bone. And here is a really quick demonstration of measuring, cutting, and tipping spring steel bones. If your spring steel bones are very stiff and hard to cut through, you can score it and then bend it at that point. It should snap cleanly like this one. I file down the tip to get a smooth rounded edge, and I use the scrap fabric to wipe the end. This both cleans off the little slivers of metal, and it also ensures that the tip is smooth, as if there were any little burrs on there, they would catch on the scrap fabric. Since it feels smooth to me, I go on to wrap the ends in Teflon tape. If wrapped tightly enough, then if the bones are snug enough in their channels, then the tape shouldn't come off. Electro Designs mentions that an additional benefit to this tape is that it won't melt with the solvents used in dry cleaning like plastic dip might. Once all the bones are in, pin the binding in place and stitch it back on. Go slowly and stretch the edge of the corset as you go. I really wanted to replace the black binding with purple, but I couldn't find any satin in a close enough color to the front motif on this corset, so I'm just sewing the old binding back on. Snip any loose threads and you are done with the boning placement. Now I added 10 more grommets, 5 on each side. The grommets aren't a perfect match, but few people will notice, especially as I'll be replacing the laces with a lush deep purple ribbon. Make a modesty panel for the back, made out of black satin fused to twill, and it's done. And here is the modified corset with the new bones, grommets, modesty panel, and laces. Although the silhouette hasn't changed dramatically, it feels sturdier and more comfortable on me because the bones are not shifting or twisting. The extra grommets give more control in lacing so I can get a better cinch, and the stiffened modesty panel gives slightly more back support in addition to just making the back look better. So here's the corset from all angles again after the modifications. So here's the front, the side, back, and the other side. So I hope you enjoyed this short tutorial. If you did like it, then please click that like button and help support the channel. If you have any questions, you want clarification, then please leave a comment down below. I'll be happy to get back to you. Just a reminder that the poll for the next corset review is still open on my Facebook page, so I'll put the link in the description for that. And I will see you all on Monday for the next corset review. Bye!